heard the music of Mridangam, and I would introduce to you the music of manufacturing. Everything that he just spoke of, the tal, the rhythm, the beat, the whole thing, is also available in manufacturing. And if you listen to it, maybe many of you would get attracted to be into manufacturing. What I'm going to share with you today is where manufacturing has actually come to. What do we do today in the world? Manufacturing, can go back ever since man first invented his first stone tool to kill an animal. He would manufacture those stone tools to kill an animal. And as went by, people manufactured their swords, their muskets, used them as arms and ammunition, or their pull carts or whatever. So manufacturing is an age-old thing. It largely got a fillip in the early 1900s, largely again driven by the automotive field. What used to happen in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, people who wanted to buy a car would go to a machine tool manufacturer, sit down with him and tell him how should their car be, how many people should it seat, should there be a driver, what should be the space for luggage, do they want a roof on top, and all these kind of specifications were told to the machine tool manufacturer, who actually drew hand sketches. He drew hand sketches and showed it to the buyer, and when the buyer said yes, then he went about the process of manufacturing that car. So as manufacturing evolved in this world and Henry Ford latched on to car production, he is said to be the first person in this world who actually gave the concept of mass manufacturing to the world. We actually call this a misnomer. It's a misconcept. I'll tell you why in a while. But he did a great deal, to manufacturing. He was the first person who actually introduced a moving assembly line. That means the concept of flow. It actually began the first industrial revolution, or the industrial revolution. Everybody thereafter started to copy the philosophy, the principle, the concept of manufacturing from Ford Motor Company. They said, oh, if they are doing this so successfully, that's the way to go. Whatever was manufactured, whether it was a fan, whether it was an iron, whether it was a refrigerator, a bicycle, a motorbike, or whatever they manufactured, people started to follow the concept of mass manufacturing. The fallacy there was, Henry Ford said, he produced only one model of car which he called the Ford Model T, and he said you can have any color you want as long as it is black. That means they were, the customer had no choice, but they just had to buy what was offered to them. So from that concept of mass manufacturing, where you made one and everybody had to buy, today the world has actually progressed to you make one for each one. That is called mass customization. Okay, so manufacturing has evolved over ages. Manufacturing has got three distinct phases. The first was the mass manufacturing concept which came from Henry Ford. It lasted perhaps till about 60s. As we go through 60s and 70s, second phase was the German phase, where the Germans would actually teach us how to over-engineer a product, how to over-process a product, how to make it, really excellent as a product, whether the customer wanted it or not, which also perhaps made it expensive. And as we come into the 70s, the world woke up to something that was happening in Japan. And that something which was happening in Japan was what Toyota was doing. It took all the concepts of Henry Ford, but it just removed from it all that was unnecessary, all that was not required, all that would make products more expensive. It used the same fundamental industrial engineering principles and gave us manufacturing in a new form that was then called Toyota Production System. It still is called Toyota Production System, but Toyota Production System is only used by Toyota. Only Toyota can use Toyota Production System. It's tailor-made for them. It solves their problems. It addresses the customers the way they want to address their customers. So what is lean manufacturing? So lean manufacturing is nothing but another name given to Toyota Production System. This doesn't mean that anybody can take Toyota Production System and apply it to their manufacturing and it will work. No, absolutely not. It will not work. But what will work? The philosophy works, the principles work, the concept works. But the trick is to understand these and apply it. Apply it to different value streams, different business processes. Okay? So when somebody is able to do this, then those business processes also transform to become lean. The concept of lean or Toyota Production System was not known in India till the early 90s. Very early 90s, in the very beginning of 1990 or 1991, the winter of 1990 and 91. We had a gentleman by name Dr. Schoenberger who came to India, addressed a national forum at an industry association, and he spoke about a book that he had written way back in 1982, which was called World Class Manufacturing. And all through the 80s, the Indian manufacturing companies were buzzing with this word, world class manufacturing. So when he explained what world class manufacturing is, he did not explain what, he did not talk about lean manufacturing. But he gave to us the concept of just-in-time manufacturing. And so in India, we decided to, that is my company, we decided to, embark on this transformation, change from what we were doing, how we were doing, conventional manufacturing, or what I like to call discrete manufacturing. Discrete manufacturing is manufacturing that really has no focus. Okay? And most manufacturing in India at that time was like that. So we started on this journey in early 90s, and we really, in many ways, we pioneered lean manufacturing into India. There were a couple of companies that started this journey almost with us from the TVS group. Both of us did achieve very significant results. The difference was the TVS group had the benefit of being coached by Japanese teachers, whereas we had to cut our own roads, find our own paths. What is lean manufacturing? You see, what happens, when you talk of manufacturing, okay, you are talking of some form of raw material being converted into a finished product. When some form of raw material is being converted into a finished product, you have got some form of raw materials, you need power, you need energy, you need fuel, diesel, petroleum, and you need people in the process. So there are costs to all of this. The raw material cost is largely indexed to metal exchange. The power cost controlled by the government. Wage costs keep going up. So diesel, petrol prices, again government. Okay? So when such costs which play a very definite role are not controlled by the manufacturing organization, we are still able to reduce cost 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60%. How we do it and what we do is lean manufacturing. We use lean thinking, and that is called lean manufacturing. I will show you with some examples as well. To get you to understand lean, let me show you what is not lean. Okay? All of you know Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola. All of you would have drunk Coca-Cola. Okay? So if you take a can of Coca-Cola, let us analyze how does this Coca-Cola end up in your hand. What happens through this process? What does Coca-Cola have when it comes to you in a can? That can is an aluminum can. There is liquid in it. That liquid is water. It tastes sweet, so there is some form of sugar. It's got an essence which gives that unique Coca-Cola kind of taste. And when this can has to come to you, the retailer has to buy it. Comes to him in form of cartons, and carton, is a box that needs to be prepared. So let us look at how and what happens in this process. We need to farm beet. Beet, sugar is made from beet. So we need a beet field. Then we need to cut beet, we need to store beet. Beet is converted into sugar. Then sugar is stored and made available to the bottler. We need a corn field from where we make caramel. So we need to farm corn, cut corn, store corn, a caramelizing plant where we caramelize corn, then we store the caramel, we make an essence out of it and store it and make it available to the bottler. The can itself, aluminium, we need a bauxite mine. Then we need to mine the ore and take it to a reduction mill. We need to reduce it. Then we take it to a smelter. This is the further processing of aluminium. Goes through hot rolling, cold rolling, before it goes into the can making machine and then becomes a can, and can is stored, for the bottler to use. Now all these cans get put in a cardboard container. So you need, you need the packing material which comes from wood. So for wood you need a forest. You cut the forest, take it to the paper mills. You make the cartons from it. Cartons are again stored in a warehouse made available to the bottler. So very broadly, before you get that one tin of Coca-Cola in your hand, it goes through these 4 value streams, value chains. Okay? Each one has got a value chain. Now if you take, let's just take one out of these 4 as an example, which is the aluminium processing. Bauxite is mined in the ores, let's say Australia, and then it goes into a reduction mill, maybe again in Australia because it doesn't require a lot of power. But from reduction mill, it goes into a smelter. Smelter requires a lot of power, so you need, they take it to countries where power is cheaper, like Sweden maybe South Africa. And from a smelter, it goes into a hot roller. Hot roller, it goes into a cold roller. Cold roller is where finally, the sheet is formed. It's 0.3 millimeters. In hot rolling, they roll it up to 3 millimeters and it's stored as a coil, and these coils are then moved to cold rolling where you require less power. So it comes now closer to the end market. And then it goes to a can maker. Can maker has got complex machinery where everything is automated and the can is made. So then the can is taken to the warehouse, from where the bottler is able to pull it, draw it, okay? And then it goes to a wholesaler like Tesco or like somebody else who stores this, and then it goes into a retail shop from where we go and buy. So if you simply analyze this, what is happening? There is raw material which is getting converted into a finished product, right? So there are two things happening here. One is where the actual conversion is taking place, where the raw material is actually changing form from one form to the next form. The other thing which is happening is the raw material is there but nothing is happening on it. Okay, we call this the first part where the raw material is getting changed, getting converted, is called value addition. That's the actual value addition in the process. Everything else that happens is called non-value addition. So if you just look at this final analysis, the total number of days that it takes from the bauxite mine for the can to be produced is 319 days. Out of 319 days, the actual processing time, the actual value addition time where the raw material is being acted upon is 3 hours. It's just 3 hours in the 319 days. And if you look at this, there is incoming storage 5 months, finished goods storage 6 months. So would you call this efficient manufacturing for something which would take 3 hours? If you take 319 days, would you call this efficient or inefficient? Right? So this is not lean manufacturing. Okay, lean manufacturing is what we do and how to cut that 319 and bring it as close to 3 hours as possible. Concept of lean manufacturing or Toyota production system, that's the origin, started in Japan. Mr. Sakeiichi Toyoda, he used to manufacture looms. Now his son Kichiro, as he grew up, went through college, although Sakeiichi had a very, very good loom business going on, he did not say to his son, I already have a factory, you come and join me in my factory. He said, go and find your dream. Find what you want to do. So Kichiro, he had been into the United States, he had seen the Ford Motor Company, they had liked what Ford does. So he wanted to produce cars, automobiles the way Ford did. He wanted to have an establishment as successful, as big as Ford. But to cut the story short, the Second World War, Japan was destroyed quite a lot. People did not have money, etc., to buy cars, so there was no market. Toyota went through some crisis. They had to retrench people and do a lot of things. Mr. Kichiro said, I'm here to provide the employment to people, not to take it away. So he resigned as the president of Toyota and handed it over to E.G. Toyoda. It was from there on that E.G. Toyoda, along with Taiichi Ohno and the statistician Shigo Shingo, the three of them, worked together to put together a system. Basically what they were trying to do, they never embarked on this journey saying we want to find a system, we want to find develop and design a system, they were facing a lot of problems. The problems was they had no money, they had numerous models of vehicles to manufacture and therefore too many number of parts, no customers, so the volume was very less. And so the question was, how do we solve this problem? How do we manufacture with this kind of a matrix to deal with, a complex, difficult matrix? So what evolved finally out of this over decades of trial and error, failure and success, was today what we know as Toyota Production System or lean manufacturing. So what we do in lean manufacturing, like we talked about that Coca-Cola example, we remove the unnecessaries. So in manufacturing, the forms of unnecessaries, there are 7 forms of unnecessaries, and that is, one is overproduction. Overproduction is considered enemy number 1. When you produce more than what the customer actually wants, what happens is, you need to have more raw material, you need to have more space for that raw material, you need to have facility to store the inventory, you need to have inventory monitoring facilities, okay? So you need to have a lot of things, so the infrastructure grows behind that. Overprocessing is doing anything extra that the customer really does not want. Inventory is a waste. We need inventory in manufacturing. It's not possible to manufacture without inventory. But the magic here is, the trick is, we convert stationary inventory into flowing inventory. So when we convert stationary inventory into flowing inventory, we don't need so much space to store material. Today when I go to so many factories, I ask them, are you a warehouse or are you a manufacturing facility? Because there is more storage space than the floor space occupied by manufacturing. Waiting in any form. You saw in the Coca-Cola example, 5 months of waiting, 6 months of waiting, okay, before and after. So waiting is another form of waste. So when we convert stationary inventory into flowing inventory, the material does not wait. Unnecessary movement, okay, of any kind, transport of any kind, and of course defects, rejections, etc. There is an 8th one which is added to this lately, which is unused human resource. Because human being has got, he has got certain qualities where he can solve problems, he can add value, he can innovate. It doesn't matter who it is in the organization, whether it is, a shop floor worker or the CEO. When this human resource is not utilized, then the human resource is actually wasted. So that is also called as the 8th waste. Look at this diagram. This will simply give you an idea. The shaded areas are the value adding areas. The non-shaded areas are non-value adding areas. So if we can remove the blank spaces, what happens is we crush our throughput time. Our manufacturing becomes faster. To give you a few examples, Mysore Kirloskar factory in Hubli, which was perhaps India's very first complete comprehensive lean manufacturing factory. It gives you a comparison of before and after. Just to highlight a few to you, I said in spite of all costs going up, we are able to reduce costs. So in this case, what we were able to do, we were able at a point in time, after we had done some work, we were able to reprice our products. And repricing, not discount, reprice. We repriced our products 30% downward price revision. That means a customer bought my machine for 10 lakhs before, he would now get the same machine, same product, same specifications, better quality for 7 lakhs. During these years, raw material costs went up, wages went up, power costs went up, fuel went up, everything went up. In spite of that, we reduced. So see, I want you to understand the difference between cost reduction and cost cutting. Everybody talks about cost cutting. Cost cutting is an accountant's term. Cost reduction is an engineer's term. Cost cutting means the accountant takes his cost headings and says, okay, if I get rid of this, if I get rid of this, I save so much cost. Head counts, the popular ones, you know, that are sacrificed in this. A lot of other things that people do is cut out on travels, cut out on so many things. Okay, that's the accountant's way. The engineer's way is cost reduction. Find out where what is happening which is not necessary. Improve that. So that is real cost reduction. So when we did this, we were able to reprice our machines, give a 30% downward price reduction to our customers. When we did that, we were able to retain enough margins more than any profits anybody in this company had ever dreamed of before. So can you imagine how much cost reduction would have been there? Okay? The competition did not know what hit them. You know, the chairmen and managing directors of competing companies came to me and told me, Sanjeev, you can't give these prices, you will lose money. But when my accountant prepared the quarterly statement and sent it to my managing director, he would ask him to check it 5 times because even he did not believe it. And my accountant would come and tell me, you better tell him to stop asking me to recheck, this is correct. So who was laughing? This is what lean manufacturing, you know, is all about. It can actually do. You can produce. I told you, the music of manufacturing. There is rhythm, tal, everything in doing this. When a company becomes lean, it works like a perfect symphony. Symphony, is that right word? Right. Okay, just some pictures to share with you. You can see lean means it works with 5 principles. The principle of value, which is the product itself. Value stream, which is, you know, an end-to-end chain through which the value flows. It flows. Flow means movement. Flow does not mean stop, okay? It means continuously in motion. And that flow is controlled and governed by the pull from the customer or from the next process, from the forward process. A visual factory. This is, everything is visual. The factory talks to you. Everything you want to know is visually told to you, okay? No need of anybody explaining anything to you. When India liberalized in 91, every Indian corporate house went to Toyota, wanted to collaborate with Toyota. Toyota said no to everybody. When they came to this factory and they saw this factory, they said, yes, here is somebody who understands our culture. Here is somebody who understands our language. There perhaps can be a cultural match and we can tie up hands. So that is how Toyota came into India. It was not the only reason that brought Toyota into India. Remember, when a collaboration takes place, there are lots of other things that need to fall into place. But this was perhaps the icebreaker that beat everybody else in the competition to join hands with this group. I'll give you another example. Working in Indonesia, I was assigned the task of looking after 6 different factories. They were all different businesses, like six business verticals. And this was a very prestigious American collaboration, Bridgeport. This company existed for 5 years before. 5 years, the company was in existence. A gentleman from Bridgeport was the chief of the factory, running the factory. At that time, the world's largest machine tool company was Cross and Trecker. The chairman of Cross and Trecker, who had just retired, was the marketing consultant. And in 5 years, the building was there, the equipment was there, the machinery was there, the people were there, people were sent to America, they were trained, everything was done. But in 5 years, they had not produced their first machine. They had produced nothing in 5 years, absolutely nothing. So when the chairman told me, he said, I don't know what to do with this factory. Can you look at it? I said to him, the easiest thing in this world is manufacturing, and making machines, you know, is like, it's like cake. So I said, leave it to me. We put lean thinking here to work. It was the same team, the same set of people, the same equipment, the same factory. I used a dual strategy. I will not get into strategy details for want of time, but I used a dual strategy, set up 2 different supply chains. The idea was that I had to develop internal competence because people had done nothing in 5 years, and when they do nothing, you know, they kind of rust. So I needed to remove that rust and get them up. And the second thing I needed to do was I needed to be in the market very quickly. And so I needed this dual strategy. On one side, I would source everything I needed to build these machines. On the other side, I would develop internal sources within the group, you know, for various components. So I set this in motion. My supply chain was set internally as well as from Taiwan. Now, Taiwan was known to be a low-cost manufacturer in the world, and perhaps globally their machines were priced very low. So when I sourced everything from Taiwan, we had no money, okay? So I said to my people, I said, don't worry, I have done this before and we can do this, but we have to work like a machine. In his music, if the rhythm goes offbeat, will it be music? It will not be music, right? So what we did is, we spoke to everybody who supplied things to us. We set everything on a schedule. We said, give me 1 month's credit, and we identified when to ship, how much time it would take, how much time after it comes we would need to build the machine, test it, and supply it to customers. So it took 7 days for a container to come from Taiwan to Jakarta. It took us about 2 days to build and test the machine, pack it, get it ready. So within 2 weeks, we were ready to deliver the machine. And at the end of 2 weeks, we delivered the machines, encashed the letter of credit, held that cash with us for the next 15 days, and transferred it to our suppliers on the 30th day. So without capital, we were also able to do this. Not only that, Taiwan was known to be a low-cost manufacturer. But when we did this, you won't believe, we beat the Taiwanese at market prices, buying everything from them. This is what lean thinking can do. This is what lean manufacturing can do. There are some examples in India. If you look at Maruti, you go back, many of you would have heard about the mishap they had at their Manesar plant. Okay, they lost their market share, went down from what used to be 50 plus, they went down into 30s. But then, because they apply lean thinking, they work on similar principles, they kept chipping at it, chipping at it, chipping at it, chipping at it. Today, their market share is up again 50 plus. Over the last 7 years, they have reduced their manufacturing cost by 40%. 40%. Today they produce a car every 23 seconds. And when their new plant is ready in 2015, they will be producing a car every 14 seconds. The increased volume of what they are going to produce is not coming necessarily entirely out of extra investment, although there is some extra balancing investment that is going in there, but they are cutting down on their various lead times. So, if they had not reduced their cost 40%, what would have happened? Their prices would be different, they would lose market share. Okay? Today, they set the benchmark for prices in the car sizes that they manufacture. Look at Toyota. Toyota last year made a net profit. I'm giving you an appreciation of lean manufacturing, the results. Toyota made a net profit of 27 billion. And I was listening to the just retired CEO of Ford, speaking at Stanford, where he said, Ford have made a record profit of 6 billion. And then I started to add Volkswagen 3.3, General Motors 3 plus something, the others, Mercedes-Benz or BMW, couple of billion, couple of billion, couple of billion, you keep on adding. And I said, how many companies do I have to search and add to equal that of Toyota? I did not find number of companies to add to equal 27 billion. Do this yourself, you'll find out. It's true. Why? Everybody produces car. Everybody converts the same raw material into a similar finished product. What's the difference? The difference is the philosophy, the thinking. It's not the tools. Tools are absolutely no-brainer in lean manufacturing. But tools are there. We use them to solve problems. But that's not the end all. It's the philosophy, it's the culture, it's the routine, it's the behavior that enables this. That's the enabler. It's not the tools, it's not the techniques. These are absolutely dumb things. Anybody can understand them. Okay? Look at any consumer report and it will tell you the top 10 brands. At the top you will find Toyota, Lexus, Toyota, Lexus, Toyota, Lexus, Toyota, followed by Acura, Honda, Acura, Honda, Acura, Honda. Acura is a Honda brand. Followed by the Fuji car, Subaru. Subaru is manufactured in the US in Toyota factories. So no surprise it finds itself there. Look at the consumer reports on used cars. You find various models of only two brands, Toyota and Honda, whether it is Lexus or whether it is Toyota. Lexus is Toyota's luxury brand. Whether it is Acura or Honda, Acura is Honda's luxury brand. You only find this in the consumer reports. There's nobody else out there. This sea of separation. What makes this difference? Where does this come from? Lean thinking. There are other, examples. If you look at Electronica in India, they worked with me for 1 year, then the owner sold the company because there was no successor. And the new owner decided not to continue with this journey. Something that similar to what happened Viamold in the US. They cut down their build time by 78% reduction. Procurement lead times reduced 82 to 84%. The time they would take to correct a problem reduced by 82%, 86%. Number of suppliers, they got rid of more than 200 suppliers. They saved 30% floor space. Their inventory came down by 86, 88%. This is when a company becomes leaner, more agile, more flexible, more responsive to changes. Okay? Sigma Electric, a company owned by Goldman Sachs, is another good example in India. They have done a lot of work to implement lean. The aircraft industry, I was at the Boeing factory. Boeing has been, working on the concepts of lean manufacturing for some time now, since the 90s. A Boeing 747 has 6 million part counts. 6 million part counts. Do you know how much time it takes for them to assemble a Boeing 747? From start to finish? 3 days. 3 days. They have then developed the 777 and the 787. So they told me they've used the concept, some thinking in lean in the design areas, which we call standardization, rationalization. And in producing the 777, they have brought down the part counts from 6 million to 3 million. And today they produce both the 777 and 787 in 4 days. And they were telling me by December 2014, that would have also been brought down to 3 days. 15 days from now, I'm going to be in the Boeing factory. I will see whether they have done it. But they definitely are on that journey, okay? And their slogan is, if it's not Boeing, I'm not going. So there are other companies in India which have embraced lean. I've talked about Toyota, I've talked about Mysore Kirloskar, Sigma Electric, the TVS group, which started with us. WAPCO India is a good example. Maruti is a good example. Honda is a good example. There are others. There are ancillaries that supply to Toyota. There are ancillaries that supply to Maruti. They have done a good amount of work in lean manufacturing. But we still don't have too many lean manufacturing companies in India. I would put the count definitely not exceeding 150 numbers. A lot of companies in India, a lot of people in India want to belong to that elite club of lean manufacturers. But sadly, they are not. The reason is their thinking is different. They live in the discrete thinking and try to use lean tools. It will not work. It is the thinking which will control everything. So one needs to understand the philosophy of lean, the principles of lean, okay? Understand the behavioral requirements of lean, and then craft routines of everybody in the organization, managing director to the shop floor worker, to behave in a particular manner that will make continuous improvement happen, make it a way of life, and then only an organization transforms to becoming lean. Although lean originated in the field of manufacturing, but today this thinking, this philosophy can be applied, and people are attempting to apply it in various fields. It can be applied in government processes, in retail, educational institutions, financial institutions, airlines, hotels, healthcare, anything and everything, IT, information technology. I get to see many examples from the IT field where, you know, they have tried to use lean thinking to solve problems. Still very backward, but they can still do a lot. I mentioned about value, value stream, flow. These are the 5 principles that we use. Lean thinking, always. You leave these principles, you leave lean manufacturing, you leave, you know, you will never be a lean manufacturer. You stay with these principles, come what may, it will lead you to successful journey. Lean manufacturing has come of age. It's more than come of age. Toyota has been living it for the last 6 decades. Today, universities and colleges outside India teach lean manufacturing in graduation and post-graduation courses. People actually graduate with this specialization. I know this because students studying in these colleges who have found me on the net interact with me. It's time in India we do this. If Modi's vision of Make in India has to happen, then I think we need to start in the colleges. Lean manufacturing today, what is being taught largely by various consultants, various training organizations, is not entirely lean manufacturing. It is not. They are teaching tools which people are trying to apply but are not getting lean results. They are moving from point A to point B, make no mistake, but they are not getting lean results. They are not getting real lean results. So it has got to start here in the colleges. And I would recommend this, that in, you know, in institutions like this, you know, this should be considered and, you know, must be looked at and taken forward. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.